Four really bad interviewers. You're not.
Yeah, this is like Dragon's Den, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Pitch is your idea, please.
Yeah, good one.
I want £70,000.
Right. Zach's warned you that this is going to be a shambles, yeah?
No, but I get that impression already.
Right. Okay. Do you want to fire straight in?
Just going to move.
I'm only kidding. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be a good laugh if nothing else. It's nice and it's a relaxed environment, isn't it?
Can always be binned after.
I find that with the podcast, you don't always have to put them out.
Yeah, we've had a couple we haven't put out.
No. We've had a couple where you've said something and we can't put it out.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Controversy follows us.
Yeah, don't want to get cancelled too early, do we?
No, not too early. So, episode what?
It's 22.
This is 22, not 21.
This
22
is
of the
22.
Tweakers. And we've got me, Harry, Taylor, Zach, and a special guest to be introduced by Zach.
Yeah, so
Please.
This week's special guest, we're joined by Dave Neal, who is the PR manager for Rich Energy, OMG Racing Yamaha, and the British Superbike Championship. He's also the host of the Off Track podcast. Dave spent 20 years in manufacturing and balanced his passion for motorcycle racing with it. As I mentioned, he is the PR and social media manager for OMG Racing Team, who race in the British Superbike Championships. They go around the country. Within the sport of motorcycle racing, he's had articles published in national magazines such as Motorcycle Racer and in the biggest selling Isle of Man TT magazine, Island Racer. He's previously a host of Motopod and appearing on over 120 episodes of the Motorcycle Racing podcast. He's interviewed an array of riders ranging from young riders to multiple world champions at World Superbike and MotoGP level, as well as providing news and opinion on the stories at the time. He's worked directly with two young riders on PR duties that have included 3 British Championship successes in that time. Welcome, Dave.
Amazing.
Hello.
Quite possibly the best introduction I think I've ever had. Thanks, Zach.
It was a bit like stars in your eyes, wasn't it? And tonight, Matthew.
Well, no, none of you are old enough, but there's somebody going to step out with a big red book at some point, it felt like. Like this is your life.
Well written.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellently done.
I can't claim that because I've near enough nabbed it off Dave's LinkedIn.
Is that where it's? I did wonder where you got it from.
That's you.
It is, yeah, no. Like, even I sit here and sometimes think, who are they talking about? And then obviously, well, okay, that's me. Still sometimes difficult to believe.
Yeah, no, I can't claim any of that. It was a quick. Oh, let's find something that's well written. Oh, Dave will have a well written.
All right,
bio.
take it back then. That's fine.
So not only am I taking credit for that, I'm taking credit for your intro as well.
Well stolen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well done, you. Plagiarised.
Yeah. But effectively.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously I sent you this plan, so you'll have seen the get to know you questions that we always have when we have special guests. Have you had a chance to prepare for those?
The unpopular opinion one is very difficult because I don't want people to switch off before we've even started.
Not switch on for
yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, fair point. Well, mate, I kind of. Are you going to ask me the question, or do you just want me to roll into it and blather my way through it?
What is your unpopular opinion?
My unpopular opinion these days is, do you know what? You're either born with a hamburger or a hot dog, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, it depends on anything.
It's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. And I understand that sometimes things change and sometimes people want to be different, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But, I have absolutely no problem. There's space for everybody. But I just think we've gone a little bit too far.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're instantly Gary's favourite person.
I mean, I don't want to go too far into it, but the whole thing now just, I don't know. You can't watch an advert without it ticking a box, or a TV show ticking a box. And it's not doing it because they want to, it's because they feel that they have to. There's room for everybody, and if you're good enough, you're the right fit for the job. But if you're there because of some other reason, then I'm not a big fan of it. If you're there because you have to be, not because you deserve to be, that's a slippery slope that we go down. But at the end of the day, you're either male or female, and I'm a bit old school on that. So if that's an unpopular opinion, then I'll take it.
That is one of the best unpopular opinions I think we've
It is.
ever had.
But
I
hang
agree.
on. Yeah,
But
yeah.
it shouldn't be an unpopular opinion, should it?
Do you know what though? I don't think it's that unpopular necessarily at the moment. Depends on.
It feels like it.
It's like it's a bit of a generation thing. I think that sounds awful.
Say-
It does sound awful.
Old people rule.
No. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It just feels like it's an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the face of social media and some of the things that you read and you see on videos and stuff like that, it feels like it's an unpopular opinion anyway. So if people are still watching, welcome.
We've started.
Yes. That's not ever.
It seems you lot are in Sheffield. The most unpopular opinion I've got is that I'm a Blades fan. So
Rotherham fan. It's not as bad as Wednesday. There's a Wednesday fan upstairs.
Yeah, there is a
there is.
Wednesday fan upstairs.
There is.
they get everywhere.
Yeah. There's always one somewhere, and
Yeah,
they hide. They don't
They
make
do.
it obvious.
What's the next question, Zach?
We've got
chocolate bar?
It is chocolate bar. What's your favourite chocolate bar?
Just a straight dairy milk, but out of the fridge.
Gotta be out of the
yes,
fridge.
it
Yeah,
has.
yeah. Chocolate
has.
goes better in the fridge.
100% it does.
You're not willing
No.
to chuck any nuts in there. In the chocolate.
If you it's like putting ice cubes in a Coke at the pub. It takes up volume, doesn't it? So if you put nuts in chocolate, it takes up volume of chocolate.
This is generational. I'll just agree with whatever you say, Dave.
I don't put chocolate in the fridge.
Yeah, but
don't?
you don't even put bread in the fridge.
I put bread in the freezer.
Who puts bread in the fridge?
Well, I do.
Why?
Why?
Lasts longer.
It lasts longer.
I put it in the freezer for that reason. But
Yeah, if you want it to last a lot longer in the freezer, yeah, but
yeah.
I don't know. I get a sandwich out the fridge.
Fair enough.
All
Well,
right.
what happens in Tesco? Do you get your
That's a good
sandwich out of a fridge?
That is a good point.
Well then,
Yeah,
but
but the bread is
I
in
get
the
my
fridge.
bread off an
Mine
aisle.
is just on an aisle, yeah.
It's on an
yeah,
aisle.
if you want it that day,
Yeah, it's not in the fridge though, is it?
No, it is when you get home.
it is. Yeah, because I put it in the fridge
We've been out
with
really quickly.
Yeah,
with
I
me
think-
chocolate and me
I
ketchup.
think we should back down, guys.
Ketchup in the fridge is another one. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Ketchup in the fridge,
in the fridge.
I
not
don't-
on your desk in the office.
Yeah, Gareth.
That's why we keep having to chuck it away.
Yeah.
Is that? That's your bag?
It is, but how far away is the fridge?
Well, you've got one below you and one
It's
upstairs.
too far.
You are lazy.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Next question.
What? Okay. Like, I could be sat here all day asking why you're putting ketchup and
Yeah,
chocolate in the fridge.
Because it's the right thing to do, Zach.
yeah. There's another podcast.
There is a whole
Oh,
other
ketchup,
podcast
yeah.
in that alone. What do you have a fear of, if any?
Crocodiles.
Crocodiles.
Absolutely detest the beady-eyed dinosaur Jurassic little gets. Smug. The beady eyes and a smug grin, and it's just
Yeah.
They are smug. They are.
Yeah,
I imagine
yeah.
if they ate you, they'd laugh at
They just know what. Yeah, it's just like
you.
Weak.
yeah. Crocodiles and alligators, 100%. Anything else I can kind of deal with.
Have you ever had to be in a situation where you're with a crocodile, though?
Yeah. I forget where we were. It might have been London Zoo in one of the reptile houses. There was a bridge over the little crocodile bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were only small, but I had to walk round. I wouldn't go over the bridge.
Wow.
And I was a growed up at that point as well.
I'm
Yeah,
interested
we're
to know where this came from. Is this just something that you've just always been afraid of, or is there something that's happened for you to
They're
be-
just horrible.
Film anaconda.
Just look at them when they come out the water, and they're like 16 and 20 feet long, and Jurassic
right.
and scaly and beady-eyed and
Right, it's
stuff.
lucky there aren't more just knocking around.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in Lancashire, you know.
No one has a pet one, do they? So we're all right.
Not that we know of.
Could you
I'm tired.
imagine the
Yeah.
case you'd need
What happens
for
to
it?
What happens to
Here's my 30-foot alligator.
Hang on a minute. No, you can't say, look at what happened to Tiger King because he had a pet crocodile. That's not what happened to Tiger King.
You had a tiger.
Wasn't he a golfer?
again, that's-
He didn't just have a tiger; he had a zoo, so he had plenty of crocodiles.
Well, I didn't kill him. No, that's a whole
He's
other
not
subject.
dead.
He's in prison.
He's in prison.
I've never seen.
I've
Tiger.
never seen
Oh,
it.
shut
so-
up! Move on.
Me neither.
Sake.
You've not
You've done yourself in there. Well, recommendation: watch Tiger King like the rest of the country.
Weirdly,
Slash
weirdly,
world.
once that happens, it's a bit like Mrs. Brown's Boys and stuff like that. Once people get onto something, they go, "Oh, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. This is brilliant." I tend not to.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know why. I just said
Oh,
like, "All right, okay, yeah."
I don't know why.
That's just stubbornness. Isn't
That
it?
is stubborn,
Yeah, it
a bit
is.
stubborn.
It's not even a conscious decision. I just don't bother.
Yeah.
That was a fair point.
I
Yeah?
think they're
I
a
don't
good
know. 'Cause you
guy.
haven't watched Jeffrey Dahmer yet, have you?
I watched like 2 or
Oh.
3 episodes, and
He's
Yeah,
he's top level murderer.
Oh, he's
Oh,
a
yeah.
bad man.
How has Jeffrey Dahmer snuck into our podcast?
I don't know. Next week.
Better not be,
was in
because I tell you what, Zach, you'd be first.
He makes a really good point.
Oh gosh.
I'm probably the perfect victim for Jeffrey Dahmer.
You would
You
want
would
to
be.
be his first victim.
So many levels.
No, he was ugly.
He's lovely looking.
Look at his glasses.
Lovely looking.
Hitler looked all right.
Ted Bundy was fit.
Ted Bundy was fit.
That's why.
If you like that
that's why he
sort of thing.
killed- That's why he killed so many people, because he was fit.
Carry on.
Right.
Scare me.
Next
sometimes.
question. Let's get off murderers.
What's your pet hates?
Talking murderers, probably.
Yeah, exactly that. Podcast with loads of people all talking at the same time. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Lack of manners and lack of respect for each other.
Generation. Next generation.
Why are you
I'm
pointing
polite.
at us?
polite.
Lack of manners.
We are very polite.
I'm
If
joking.
anything, they're too polite.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with that. I hate.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring
There's-
some up. You're going to hate this. So, Dave, if your if your
No.
partner brought home, like you ordered a McDonald's and
Mhm.
Zach.
she had a Diet Coke, but she didn't want it anymore, and said, "Would you?" and offered you it, and said, "Would you like a Diet Coke?" Would you say, "Oh, yes, thank you"?
Yeah, because I'm quite happy with the Diet Coke.
But you'd say thank you at the end, wouldn't you? You say, "Yes,
Yeah, of
please."
course you, yeah, of course you would. Yeah.
Yeah. Gareth.
No. This
Here
is
comes
on
the-
one specific time. No, actually, it's not.
It's
every
not.
time.
Here
So
comes the
if
number
he's-
56 bus. Let's throw him under it.
If she's offering, whenever she's offered me that, if she hasn't wanted it,
Mm.
well, she'd only put it in the bin. So I don't need to say thank you for giving it to me instead. There's too
What
much.
did you say?
Yeah, but she's offered it. You shouldn't have to offer it. Yeah.
Courtesy.
Yeah, it is courtesy.
What did you say?
Thank you, Dave.
I just
I'm
said
with Dave on
yes.
this one.
Yeah, I just said yes, not yes, please. Or
So, would you like my Diet Coke? Yes.
Yes, please.
Instantly. Yes, please. Me and Dave have been brought up right.
I was dragged up. Was absolutely dragged
Yeah.
up.
Right. Let's get on to the meatier questions. Let's get down to business.
Go on.
Dave, how did you begin working in sort of like PR and social media? So obviously you've had a lengthy period of your career working in manufacturing. How did that lead to your career now working with OMG Racing Yamaha in the superbikes?
There's absolutely no correlation between the two. The only benefit that we had from manufacturing was it gave me quite a bit of time off to be able to pursue the other side to what I love. When I worked back over in Lincolnshire, we had a great shift pattern that allowed plenty of time off. And it was back in the days when Twitter was a great place to sort of hang out, and you could have times have changed like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
So going back to sort of 2012, 2013, Twitter was really good. You'd have different circles of friends, and you could talk to people in the industry, and then introduce yourself at the track, and you could have general conversation with them without somebody butting in or having an opinion on something that really didn't concern them. But you get to know people like a guy called Ian Wheeler has been someone I've looked up to since I started. He at the time was the press officer for one of the MotoGP and Moto2 teams. Ian Wheeler, he started his career early in British Superbikes and worked his way through. He wrote for a couple of magazines. He's been a bit of a trailblazer, really, in terms of social media content. And he's now the communications manager for Yamaha Europe. So he goes off to the motocross events. He gets sometimes at MotoGP, sometimes to the manufacturer. So he was one of my early, what would I say? Not idol, because that's a silly word.
I suppose you're saying inspiration.
Inspiration, that's the word. It began with I, but it was not inspiration. So Ian was one of my early inspirations and helped me a lot in the early days with magazine articles. He organised my first ever article, which was a chat with a young rider at the time called Scott Redding, one of the best products of British racing we've had in recent years. Raced at MotoGP level, almost won the Moto2 championship, and was British Superbike champion in 2019. And has since gone on to win races and fight for the title in World Superbikes. So the kid is super talented. Off the back of those, we ended up on a Twitter feed called Paddock Chatter. That then took off and introduced us to more people with three other guys. The gentleman called Tim Teal from Altrincham, he started it all originally. Not from Altrincham, it's from Wilmslow, and it was Cheshire anyway, but he's that way on. Four of us took that on, introduced us to more people. That basically took on all my days off, which led to Motopod, which led to working with Jordan, which led to working with Josh, which led to working with OMG Racing, which has led me to where I am today.
Amazing. Yeah. And obviously I know you from because I used to sort of dabble is that the right word? Dabble.
That's a good word.
Yeah. In and around the British Superbike sort of arena. And when I first met you, you were the PR manager for Jordan Weaving, as you've mentioned. And I think you worked with, it was at that point you was working with Express Coffee as well.
Yeah, with Chris, Express Coffee. Yeah, Chris has been a great champion of me and getting me to where I want to be. He's been a great advocate of that and helped a lot over the years.
And obviously with Jordan Weaving as well, being his PR manager, how many years did you did that for a few years, didn't you, with Jordan?
3, I think.
3, yeah.
3 years, and I think 1 British Championship. I'd moved on for his second British Championship, but continued with Josh. I think Jordan won the Motostar Championship in 2014. Josh won the National Superstock Championship in 15. Jordan won the Junior Superstock Championship in 16, but with somebody else doing his work for him. Then stayed with Josh until he joined OMG at the beginning of 2018, which is their first season in motorcycle racing.
Yeah, it's an amazing journey, really. And I mean, how did you ever envisage going from the point where you're obviously working in manufacturing to the point where you are now, where this is what you do full time now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is my full-time role. Yeah, I'm very, very fortunate as one of the few professional press officers in the British Superbike Championship. So professional as in it's their only job. Not saying that any are unprofessional before that gets shut down. There's some great press officers in the British Superbike Championship, but not all of them are full-time. But did I ever expect to be doing this? No. I always thought I was maybe 20 years too late. And I'd missed the boat. I took on more of a paternal role at Paddock Chatter because I worked with 3 great people on that in Matt Dunn, Ollie Rushby, and Alana Fellows. They were all 20 plus years younger than me. And weirdly, they still are. But Ollie is now, he is press officer for Yamaha UK and for the McCann's Yamaha team in British Superbikes. Matt Dunn went on to be social media editor for Dorna, who own MotoGP, and to become a commentator for Moto2 and Moto3 practice sessions on the world feed, which he still does now very, very well. And Alana, she went off to university, went to work at Donington Park, worked at Dorna herself for a little while as in World Superbikes. Same as Matt, travelled the world with World Superbikes, and he's now junior producer at BT Sport on their MotoGP coverage.
Wow, it's quite a list.
So yeah, I never thought I would get to where I am now. No, I thought I'd missed the boat completely. So I was quite happy to, in whatever way, shape, or form, just guide those guys into wherever I could on a small part of their journey.
And how? So for those who don't necessarily know what a PR manager or what your role necessarily entails, just really quickly, just sort of explain so what you might do over a race weekend, or what you do from your day-to-day working life, if that makes sense.
Throughout the week, it's populating the social media. It's responding to queries, responding to requests, comments, things like that. Also planning for the British Superbike weekend in conjunction with my partner in crime, Tommy Hill, who's himself a former British Superbike champion. Which this is how things change. In 2011, when Tommy won the title, the TV footage, I'm in the background being one of those gurning wazzocks that appear in the back of the shot. And here I am 11 years later, he's a good friend and I'm working alongside him. So that's a real marker of how things change. Yeah. But so doing that during the week, and then come on weekend, we get to the circuit on a Thursday. Ahead of the race weekend, if there's anything that the boys need with regards to media duties, things like that, I'll sit in with them, with Brad Ray and Carl Ride, our two Superbike riders. People come to me during the week if they want to have a chat with Brad. Can we pick a time? Can we do this? Which is really polite. They don't have to do that. It's not MotoGP and World Superbike, but I think it's a really polite nod to me and to the team to say, look, can we have a chat with Brad or Kyle at this time? And we'll schedule that. I'll sit in with them just to make sure that there's not too difficult a question for them. But usually the journos have carte blanche really with what they want to ask. They're very respectful of us all and us of them, because we want them to get the word out about the team as best they can, and they want good access to the boys. And then Thursday evening will be podcast time. If I can pick up a couple of podcasts for off track at the same time, maybe Thursday, Friday night. By the time we get to Saturday, I'm far too tired for that. I tend to fall off the end of podcasts on a Saturday. But then Saturday, we're covering each session. Trying to use the socials in the best possible way. Sometimes it's not that easy. I have instructions to tell the story of the race weekend via the socials, but we know with how Instagram and Facebook work that overposting doesn't quite fit the algorithm. But the boss is the boss, and he wants the storytelling. So this is what we do. So we make reels, we do stills in the garage. We have an on-track photographer as well.
Nice.
And basically we tell the story of the weekend, and then accompany the guys to any press briefings, any post-race press conferences, which we've been very fortunate to be in 10 this year. In fact, no more as winners anyway. As rate with 10 race wins, 9 for Brad and 1 for Kyle. And I think another 12 or so as podium places. So it's been a busy season so far.
Amazing.
Well, you mentioned it's been a busy season. I mean, as we sit recording right now, we're one round left in the championship, and you're heading to Brands Hatch. It's not this coming week, it's next weekend.
A week tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah. And Brad is. I'm not going to say those words, but he's not. I don't care. He is not.
You can say it. I'm not.
He's not far off becoming this year's British Superbike champion. Yeah. There's a matter of it's single-digit points now that he technically would be mathematically off as we stand right now, being champion. I mean, he can wrap it up in the first race quite relatively.
He needs to finish 7th or above in the first race.
Yeah,
that's it. And there are 2 more chances on the Sunday as well.
Yeah, it's very much. Yeah. He's got one hand very firmly on that trophy. And it has been, I mean, he's just, it's so hard to describe, because Brad, for me, watching British Superbikes and following it for the years that I mean, you mentioned obviously about Tommy Hill in 2011. I'm sat here like, oh my God, that was 11 years ago. But Brad's sort of come through. He's had a real journey through British Superbikes, hasn't he? Obviously, starting off as most riders do in Moto Style 125s, whatever it was at the time, and coming through stock, 600 and Super Sport, and now in British Superbikes, and he's looked completely different this year yet again, and it doesn't surprise me at all that he's about to win it, really.
His story is quite incredible, because usually at this point, a rider fighting for the Bennett's British Superbike Championship normally has a British Championship of some description under their belt. Whether it's, as you say, whether it's 125, Moto Star, Stock 6, Super Sport, Super Stock, whatever. Brad doesn't. Brad's never won a British Championship on a big bike. He spent a lot of time in Spain. He spent a lot of time on different motorcycles. He almost won the British Supersport Championship in 2016, but was beaten by Taz McKenzie, last year's champion. It's a hell of a journey for him, and he's not, not without his injury problems. He's not from a privileged background. His dad's a builder, and his mum jointly owned a pub with his brother. And they basically worked their backsides off to provide as much finance as they could for Brad to race, because I don't know how much the listeners and you guys in the studio, I know you do, Zach, know about motorcycle racing, but it's just a ridiculously expensive sport to be able to live your dream. There's only a few riders that are professional in the whole outfit. The outlay that some riders need to be able to make it into Superbike is well into six figures. And that's just from the hobby perspective, because until that point, you're doing it as a hobby. It's not a career. And if you've got something special, then, you'll be picked up by a British Superbike team. But invariably then you're paying to ride there as well, which can be anything 50, 60,000 pounds a season and above.
Yeah.
Yes, crazy. Yes,
it is just mind-boggling money, isn't it?
And that's just one season. Never mind the 10 that you've done before.
Yeah,
that's per year.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've been working in and around BSB, as you mentioned, now for a good amount of time. I mean, how has it changed at all, if it has at all, over the years that you've been involved within it?
The tracks have improved. Stuart Higgs and Jonathan Palmer at MSV have bought up quite a few of the circuits. They own Cadwell, Snetterton, Alton, Brands, Donington. I think that's about it as far as the ones that we go to off the top of my head. I'd probably miss one, but the main circuits that we go to are owned by MSVR, who run British Superbikes, and the MSV, I think MSV side run touring cars as well. So it's a massive, massive concern. But they've really worked hard to bring the tracks up to standard. The safety has improved. The marshalling, the medics have always been good, but their techniques and their knowledge has improved over the years as well, and the kit that they have has improved. The racing is as good as ever. Facilities, some places have improved, some not so much. But certainly the social media side with the job has been a massive development over the years, and become far, far more prominent than anything else, I think, that's changed over the last 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, I bet it's been a massive change. Every industry, you can see how different it is, even when you talk about different platforms. And when you mention about Twitter being different now, just everything's progressing, and I can see that just from this industry as well. It's crazy, but in a good way, I suppose.
Sometimes not always for the best, but generally speaking, yeah, the reach and the engagement that you can get from fans just by knowing your audience is massively important in motorcycle racing. They don't ever think that they don't know more than you do, because they do. And they will happily tell you at every opportunity.
Yeah.
So you have to be on the ball with pretty much everything you do. The beauty that I find of social media at the moment for the Bennett's British Superbike Championship is invariably I'm talking to myself, because I'm in that major 35 to 65 demographic who tend to spend a bit more time on Twitter, who tend to be a little bit more respectful. We don't have the junior following that MotoGP is starting to push for, bringing influencers in that people that I've never heard of but have got millions of followers, and it's a completely different age group. I have enough to contend with without regressing 25 years into a land that I know absolutely nothing about. That is completely different to when I was 25. So yeah, the easiest thing is I'm talking to myself, but you also need to understand that the audience are incredibly knowledgeable, and they do engage with what we put out, enjoy the photos, the videos. Sometimes you'll throw a couple of old song lyrics in there, which get a few smiles back, and it just a little bit of engagement that way. We're not just our feed, I would like to think, has a personality. And if that's
what you want personality.
And if that's my personality coming through, then so be it. But you still have to maintain that through the winter, and people get used to the voice of the team, and it develops its own way. Some people, there's a fair few people know that it's me on the other end of the phone that's doing it, but there's an awful lot of people out there that don't. They just see OMG racing, and that's the best bit. And I think when we look at our figures, Rich Energy, OMG Racing, Yamaha are up there with the best in British Superbikes. And talking to Matt Dunn at Silverstone earlier in the year, he was, if you're going to take a marker of somebody and a pat on the back, then taking a pat on the back from Matt Dunn is one of the highlights of the season for our feed and what we do. He said, what you put out there as a team is far better than an awful lot of MotoGP teams and Moto2 and Moto3 outfits. Right. You know, we post at least twice a day, Monday to Friday, and we keep everybody updated through a race weekend. Yeah.
And I think there's something in there that, for me, that is really important that you've mentioned, is that everyone gets a sense of personality from the team in terms of their online presence. And I think that now is certainly how business has changed, in that it's all about having a personality and a voice and being relatable more than anything now, and having that human element to everything that you do. Because I was speaking to someone else this morning, and a lot of things that a lot of people see through the bullshit. And for me, it's important now to, more than ever, to have that voice and that authenticity to it.
Worst thing you can do is underestimate the engagement and the masses that are out there. If you underestimate them, you will fail.
Yeah, you don't want to condescend your audience, because
not a chance. This is why we have to.
You won't get away with it, would you?
No, you won't. No, and that's the thing. You know, I will reply to negative comments, but it'll always be in a positive way, and you don't get drawn into slanging matches, things like that. We had the whole thing in the summer with Rich Energy, which I'm not going to go into because it's not about that, and we haven't got the time to do it. But that was a lesson to me in how to. Maybe Zach will explain that when we hang up later.
Yeah, we did discuss it. Yeah,
there's a previous episode we've done where we briefly mentioned them, but we were nice enough to bleep out the name, I think, when we very first started doing it.
Yeah, I can remember. Yeah.
The thing is, it's all in the hands of barristers and lawyers and things now. It's all there on social media for people to see. But I think we handled ourselves as best we could there, and just focused on the racing, because that's what we're about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important not to get too far drawn out of that, and especially with things like that as well, is that it's important that you stick to what ultimately you're trying to do.
Plus, I can't be bothered.
Harry, did you have a fact of the day? Did I?
No, I did indeed.
You do? Right. Well, we'll have a little break from the serious stuff from it. So we have a little. On every episode we do, Dave, we have a segment where we make sure that Harry and Taylor and get involved as well, and we ask Harry to find a random fact of the day.
They have been very quiet so far, the pair of them.
I think
it has been noted.
I've been mesmerised.
Right. So are you all ready?
We're ready. We're sitting tight.
Which one is it?
It's that purple one, I think, that you press. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but it will come through.
Slick operation.
Ready, sweet?
Yeah.
Harry's renovate of the day.
Right. The week.
It's not the week, it's the day.
Okay.
So your mouth uses 75 muscles whenever you speak. How weird is that?
At any time, regardless of what you say?
Anything. Well, obviously, when you're just generally speaking, your mouth uses 75 muscles.
It's a workout.
I bet you did not know that. Yeah, that's a workout for you, isn't it? Like,
I like that.
Because I've got more muscles.
yeah. I mean,
I like that.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
That is a good little fact.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Thank you very much for that.
That's it. That's it for today.
It's not
I'm
taken
off.
as far down as a route as the mountain goat fact that you once.
No, we can't go over
Do
that.
you have any facts that you'd like to share? Because you always do sometimes.
No,
You normally
not
have an
today.
animal fact.
I haven't got an animal fact today.
No.
No, not today.
Did you know a slug has 4 noses? I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well,
that's one
Get out of my
podcast.
territory of animal facts, though, please. I'll share that next week.
Do you have a fact about crocodiles? Be a good time.
Okay,
No,
Crocodiles can't walk backwards.
that's
I
true.
bet you did not know
that
that.
is true. Yeah.
But weirdly, I also have researched how to run away from a crocodile.
Oh,
And do you know how? Do you know how you run away from a crocodile?
is it
Quick.
just
No.
Quick.
You run away in zigzags
zigzag?
Why
Zigzag.
zigzag?
because they've only got little legs and they can't turn around. They can't turn corners very well. So you have to run in zigzags because you think how long they are with small legs. If you run in zigzags, they can't change direction too quickly.
I never knew that. I never even knew the walking backwards thing, though. To be fair,
Well-
I'm now fully equipped for if I'm face to face with a
You are,
crocodile.
yeah.
Yeah. You turn around and run away in zigzags, and they get bored and go off to something else.
We'll stop at Yorkshire Wildlife Park on the way.
That's a great idea.
back. Just see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you also know that your eyes actually project things to your brain upside down? It's your brain that turns the image around.
I
Yeah.
did know this
What?
actually. I've seen this
Yeah.
in a book. Yeah, did you not know that?
No. What?
So, just quickly say that again, Dave.
It's like looking at a spoon.
What?
No.
No,
a
carry on.
periscope.
Your eyes actually see the world upside down because of the way that they're made and the way that things work in there. It's your
Yeah.
brain that turns the image the other way around.
Oh,
You can't see Harry right now, but his hands are in it. His head's in his hands.
Not surprised. Not surprised. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Taylor,
Why are you looking at me?
Have you got any
you've
other
normally got a little nugget.
What?
That's another story.
Information. Now you're making it obvious that this isn't your fact.
No. In all fairness, you put him on the spot there.
Sorry.
I feel like while he's doing that, tell Dave your mountain goat fact.
No, it's not a fact. It's not. Not going over that again. Go
you,
on.
You blink your eyes over 10 million times a year.
A year or
A year?
A year.
So how many
10
times is that a day?
So divide that by 365.
Well, I get it, but I want to know the answer.
I don't
All right,
know.
we'll
figure
find
it out.
bit, don't we?
Okay, yeah, go on.
Go on, you go. Do it.
10 million times a year.
10
Yeah.
million.
Yeah, this is slick.
That doesn't seem like enough to me.
It seems like too much to me.
So how many is that a day?
27,397 times.
Maybe that's right then.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. So that's 1,000 times an hour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just over.
Just over.
24, 25, 26, 27.
Yeah, but no,
That's
you're
about right.
forcing,
Can
you're
you blink
forcing
fast?
it.
Can you
That's
blink
about
fast?
right.
Can you blink really fast?
I think we all can.
Like,
Oh, you can flutter your eyelashes.
can you flutter them?
Yeah,
Is that about as that can?
what's that
Go on.
supposed to mean?
Flutter me.
Exactly what he said.
I can't turn my charm on at the request. I just have to turn it on when it needs to be turned on. And it's certainly not being turned on at you.
Next question.
There's a joke in here somewhere.
There is somewhere. Turn.
Well, it's my mum's wedding on Sunday night, and if we get absolutely battered, then it might just accidentally fall out.
What will?
Ooh, what will?
Oh, you thought. What, Garrett?
What?
Garrett.
That's what it sounded
I
like.
don't have to. No, even if
You
I'm.
want me to flop it out again?
If I'm cataclysmic, can't get my words out.
Get your words out.
Cataclysmically drunk, I still wouldn't flutter
What
my
does
eyelids in.
I'll be
cataclysmic
making
mean?
a move on your mum. Anyway, next time.
Not the bride.
The bride. Joking.
It's not.
No, you're
It's
not.
not at all.
It's not.
It's
Oh.
not at all.
Come on.
Let's get back to it. Before people start Instagramming me
Cancel.
mum,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
as they do at football. Don't, oh yeah,
Sorry.
as they do at football.
How is your mum, Zach?
She misses you.
Thank you.
She's still waiting for the follow back.
I'll look into that.
Oh, great. My mum snuck in as well. We've got Jeffrey Dahmer, we've got Ted Bundy, we've
And
got
your
the
mum.
Tiger
And your
King,
mother.
and my
your
mum.
Yeah.
She's in good company.
You know that conversation about who you'd have at a party, a dinner party.
Oh, so who your thought dinner guests would
Elephant
be?
Man,
Yeah.
your mum, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy.
They'd all kill each other.
Ted Bundy would be there.
Yeah.
See, he brings the class.
Jeffrey Dahmer
Jeffrey
bring the
Da-
acid.
Jeffrey
Yeah, it really
Dahmer-
sets the standard,
Jeffrey
doesn't it?
Dahmer
Would
would
bring the
bring
acid.
the nibbles.
You wouldn't want to eat them.
No, but he'd bring the nibbles and
That's a good question, though. Dave, who,
Are they nibbles or nipples?
actually, nibbles, yeah.
if you could have 4 dinner party guests, do they have to be alive or dead? What was the
Anything.
parameters? Anything. Any time in history, they could be alive or dead. Who would you have? 4 dinner party
Right on
guests.
the spot, this
That's a really good question. It's also a nod number as well, which would probably mess with
yeah,
my
you
head a
would
little
have
bit.
5, wouldn't you? People there.
No, 3 or 5, isn't it?
No,
4. Well, no, I know it's 4.
Dave's one of them.
Oh, yeah, 4.
Four's an odd number.
Shut up.
I don't know. That's
Elephant Man for certain.
Liam Gallagher for one.
Oh yeah, good
Oh,
choice.
good shout.
And Noel.
No, just Liam.
Okay. Just sort out Oasis.
Liam Gallagher for one.
There you go.
I don't know. Billy Sharp is another.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just he's got so many stories and how to, especially with some of the heartache that guy's been through, plus
Yeah.
his career,
absolutely. Yeah.
would make fascinating listening. Couple that with Liam would be pretty cool.
And the Elephant Man, that's a big trio.
Stop trying to put
Sorry.
the Elephant Man in Dave's.
I'm guessing the Elephant Man John Merrick would have to be one
Yeah.
guest as well.
You'd have to get the buns in, wouldn't you?
You'd have to get those in.
Yeah.
And one more other one that this may be a little bit different. Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. He speaks a lot of sense.
He speaks an awful and is quite funny as well.
Yeah.
And then you would probably throw in Peter Kay or John Bishop, somebody like that on the end of it.
Donald Trump.
No,
No.
absolutely not.
Ojo.
No. Let's not get political, but they're not coming in my house
No.
or my flat. I shouldn't call it a house. It's
Yeah,
an insult to houses.
Billy Sharp, Liam Gallagher,
Billy Sharp would be a great one.
and Barack Obama as a four-way.
Barack.
Yeah,
Barack.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
You said
It doesn't really matter.
Barack.
It's
I
the
didn't
same
say
bloke.
Barack.
Same bloke. Yeah.
I've never met anyone else called Barack. Barack.
Have you
sorry.
met? How many Americans have you met?
Not many.
There you go then.
Anyway, move on.
I've met Bill Clinton, if that helps.
What's that?
I've met Bill Clinton, if that helps.
Have you?
When did you meet Bill Clinton?
He flew into RAF Bryce Norton when he came over in either 92 or 93. And I think he addressed the Oxford Union. But he flew in on Air Force One and he landed at Bryce Norton. They go into Stansted these days. But yes, he came and he was in our operations room and managed to have a little chat with him. And very tall man. Made my nose look very small as well, which was excellent. He had a beak and a half, that boy.
Not looking at
but
me. I
yes.
know exactly why you're looking at me.
So yes, yeah, I've met a living US president. He was US president at the time.
Did you say he was quite tall?
Yeah, he must be 6'4", 6'5", maybe.
Really?
I've always
wouldn't
envisioned
have
him
thought
really
that.
small.
No, tall fella, very tall fella.
I wouldn't have even thought that.
Why did I think he was so small?
Yeah, I thought
So that's a random fact from me, anyway.
I like that.
Adds to it.
I think that needs to round up because you can't top that.
no,
Can't top that story. I don't think any of our guests ever again can top that. If you think you can top that story and you're listening to this and want to be a guest, email us
Yeah.
and we'll get it on.
Okay.
That's
What's the other questions, anyway?
So obviously you're very experienced in podcasting. So obviously you've had Moto Pod and now you've got the Off Track. So how's this? Has this proven to you that sort of they're the future, if you like?
I don't know whether they're the future. I think they're certainly the now. We started doing podcasts in 2013, which was before podcasts were a thing. So we can't even call it a podcast at the time. It was an internet radio show all about motorcycle road racing, as the intro went. And it was the earliest form of podcast. So you could listen to it via the website. It was a magazine style show. So yes, to all intents and purposes, it was a podcast. And then we could launch it onto Spotify and Apple and places like that. So when podcast became a thing, then it joined the throng. Recently, MotoPod celebrated its 700th episode. So you can imagine that it's been going a fair old amount of time. Wow. But that was fantastic. It gave a platform for British Superbikes. It gave a platform for myself and Harry Lloyd to project ourselves forward. Harry's another young guy that I've worked very closely with, who's gone on to do amazing things in the sport. He started off as a law student at Canterbury University, was doing a little bit with Dorna, doing MotoGP commentary on Twitter. Went to work for Dorna, went to work for World Superbikes. He was a World Superbike commentator. He was press officer for the Honda World Superbike team, and now he's press officer in MotoGP for the Repsol Honda team, which is one of the pinnacle teams in MotoGP, and he works currently with Pol Espargaro. That's the pinnacle of the sport, to work in MotoGP, which if I were younger and more inclined, I would be quite happy to do, but it's not for me.
No. And I think we're working in MotoGP as well as there's as obvious as it sounds, it's an awful lot of traveling. It's you're here, there and everywhere really with MotoGP, aren't you?
21 rounds a year is too much. It's a lifestyle, it's not a job, and I have the utmost respect for anybody who works in it. I have the utmost respect for anybody who walks away from it because it's not quite what they want. I would be single if I decided to take a job in MotoGP, and I'm not prepared to take that risk. So if an opportunity came up in World Superbikes, yes, I would be quite happy to go to be considered for that. And I know my gaffer at OMG Racing, Alan Gardner, because I'm progressing, absolutely wouldn't stand in my way. I certainly couldn't say the same if I went to work for maybe Paul Bird or for Honda or McCams or something like that, which I wouldn't do. So I have a lot of respect for AG, and I wouldn't work for any other team in the British Superbike paddock.
Great.
Yeah. And I think that's
loyalty, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that says everything about the working environment as well, actually, in that you know, the fact that if an opportunity comes along for you, that he'd quite happily, let you take it and let you, move on to bigger and what you'd argue maybe better opportunities.
Well, he gave me my opportunity to live my dreams. So I'm not gonna, sort of kick him in the slats by going to work for another team. All the teams are great. They all have, we all know each other. We all know the mechanics and the technicians, the PR guys and girls. We're a traveling village, but at the end of the day, my loyalties lie with Rich Energy, OMG Racing, Yamaha, and I'm quite happy there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, back to podcasts. Podcasts are cool, because they give you an opportunity to express yourself. They sometimes, when you're in a fortunate position, they give you an opportunity to tell your story, which I'm still not used to doing. It's usually me that's sat where you guys are talking to somebody else. But the thing about podcasts that work the best are they allow the subject to tell their story.
Yeah.
And you don't often get that through the written media. And, if they've got 15 minutes with a journo, trying to get that down into writing to try and scratch the surface of somebody's story. With a podcast, you can go an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. I did one with Terry Reimer at the end of last year, who's an ex-British champion, World Superbike race winner, World Endurance. He's multiple World Endurance champions. So many stories. And we were on for 3 hours. Split it into 2 episodes. And they were fantastic. Some amazing stories. But the human side of motorcycle racing is what appeals to me the most, because there are some complex characters out there. There are some open characters out there. And there's some inexperienced characters out there. And every single one of them's got a story of how they got where they are. It's not like a normal job where you start off as a junior and then you progress and then you do a bit more and then you get promoted. You have to battle for everything, and you're governed by your results, more so in this line of work than any other. In sport in general is the same. I know that. You're only as good as your last football match. You're only as good as your last race. So it's how they deal with that mentally, and how they deal with injury, and how they deal with losing a ride through poor performance, and also the positive side for young guys like Charlie Nesbitt, who was on the show last week, who is about to take a step into the British Superbike Championship. That kid's super talented, and we've told his story a couple of times. And I've had a little bet with myself that Charlie will be British Superbike champion in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be tempted to agree with you on that, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if these guys will know necessarily about Charlie Nesbitt, but 100% I think he will be in the next 5 years. Completely agree with you. In terms of the advice that you'd give for people just starting out a podcast, I mean, obviously we've spoken a lot about everyone's got a story to tell. Do you think that is the key to a good podcast, is telling someone's story or telling a story?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because as long as you tell the story right, every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it doesn't matter where you deviate to, what tangent you go off at, as long as you come back to the narrative that you can do the start of their career, the middle of the career, the end of their career, and what happened after it. You need to follow a timeline, because that's easier for the listener to follow.
Yeah.
You know, the listeners of any podcast are inviting you into their head. Whether it's I've listened to a great podcast. Weirdly, I'm not a big listener to other people's podcasts because I don't really have an awful lot of time to do that. When I'm working at home, I tend to be sort of dead quiet. I don't even have music on. So the Diary of a CEO is a fantastic podcast. If you guys haven't
talked about that a lot.
You've talked about that. It's a fantastic podcast for life, for business, and for podcasting. And that's one I'll listen to regularly. And also there's another motorcycle racing podcast. And I guess in fact, we'll come to that when you ask a question later on about the difficult sides to the sport, Zach.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, actually, because that's just led me on to it. So I was just going to sort of ask you, are there parts of working in BSB or motorsport more generally that perhaps aren't so pretty? Because, people looking from the outside in will think, oh, yeah, it's amazing. You go to all the BSB rounds, you get all behind the scenes, and you're right up there with the action. But are there sides of it that maybe people don't see that perhaps aren't so nice and sunshine and rainbows, if you like?
Do you know what? I absolutely love my job. I absolutely adore being in the British Superbike paddock. Take this weekend at Donington, for example. We had a few guests of the team coming in. That's not my remit to look after the guests of the team. We have our great hospitality crew, Colin and Lisa and Claire, Vicky, Zoe, and the chefs, Rob and Jimmy as well. They do an amazing job with our guests. And Colin is one of the best in the business at hosting. So I don't have to get involved in that side too much. But you do see friends at the track. And to be able to bring friends in and share with them what I do. We were doing pit walk on Sunday. And a good friend of mine from our hometown popped his head round, and he does a little bit in British Superbikes. He works for one of the sponsors for Milwaukee Tools. And Paul had with him a guy he used to work with. He had Johnny and his dad with him, and Johnny was like, "That's incredible." I was like, "No, come in. Come into the garage, and this is Brad Ray's bike. This is the championship leading bike. This is Kyle's bike." We had James Hillier with us, the TT rider. He's doing the last 2 rounds on the Superstock machine, and to see their face when you bring them in the garage and be able to share with them what I do, it gives me so much pride in the job and the team. To share that with people, it's great to share the feeling of the team. And when you get young kids coming in the garage with their parents, and Daz or JB will say, yeah, they can sit on the bike, no problem at all. Take a picture with them or hold one of Brad's trophies if he's won one on the Sunday, or if it's later on the Saturday, or it's later on the Sunday afternoon and there's a couple of trophies on the side. It's making memories for people, which we get to live every weekend. So I'm massively, massively blessed for the job that I do, as still one of the biggest fans of the sport around, to actually work in it. And as Alan Gardner says, to live the dream at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not over egging it. It's absolutely true that for job satisfaction, there's nothing better. And then you cap it off with Brad, winning races, and you get to cover that and film him coming back into Parc Fermé, and being in the press conferences and stuff like that. Trust me, because I do it for a job, it's absolutely not lost on me. I appreciate every day that I'm at the circuit, because you never know how long it's going to last. So, we keep moving forward, and I keep trying to do my best. I've learned so much in the last 18 months doing the press officer role that I'm reasonably all right at it now. So we look at the downside to the sport, and the downside to the sport is very obvious. That it says on the ticket and on the back of your permanent pass that motorsport's dangerous, and it is. It's inherently dangerous, especially motorcycle racing, because you don't have your roll cage and your tin tops that you have in British touring cars and everything else. And people get hurt. Invariably, they slide off. They'll slide through the gravel. They'll be I say it lightheartedly, but it is for them innocuous injuries. They might fracture a wrist or an ankle, something like that. It's nothing they haven't done before, but they go home and they'll wake up tomorrow. The hardest side of the sport is losing those that don't see another sunrise. And when some of those guys that you lose are friends, it magnifies it a million times. It's very, very hard to deal with. This weekend, as a point in case, as Zach was alluding to, a rider called Chrissy Rouse, he has his own podcast. He has a podcast called Chasing the Racing, which is the most popular motorcycle racing podcast in the UK. He's done a fantastic job on it. Him and his co-host Dom Herbertson, who's a road racer. Both Geordie lads, both brilliant with the crack. I've known Chrissy the best part of 10 years, and he came to me when he wanted to set up the podcast, because he'd been on Motopod with me, and he asked in the early days for advice of how to set up the podcast and what to do. And I'm still a patron of his podcast now. I still give him a tenner a month, for goodness sake. And we're like 3 years in. He owes me some money, that boy. But on Sunday, he was exiting Goddard's on the opening lap of the third race, high-sided from his machine, which meant the rear of his motorcycle lost grip under acceleration. It then grips again, but at that point, the motorcycle tries to stand up and flicks the rider basically out the front door. Unfortunately for Chrissy, he was hit by a following rider and was put into a medical coma at the circuit and transferred to QMC in Nottingham, where he remains at this point in time. He's a very, very, very poorly boy. It's been a difficult last 3 days for his friends, family, anyone who's close to him, friends like myself and Jennifer, who we speak to him a lot and see him at the circuit. We don't know what the outcome's going to be at this point in time. And that's the side of the sport that hurts. That's the side of the sport that you never get used to. There are points that you can almost compartmentalize a little bit. But you just, anytime there's a notification on your phone, and you just think, because we're in touch with people who are in touch with the family, and we're just hoping for the best for Chrissy at the moment. And my thoughts have been with him since the incident, and won't change until we hear some positive news out of QMC. Situations like that, they are the most difficult for being involved in motorcycle racing.
Yeah, and I think, before I say anything, I think we all say that our thoughts go to Chrissy and his friends and family, because it's a horrible situation to find yourself in. But I've known people over the years. There's two that sit on my mind straight away, because although I never really raced in motorsport, but I sort of had some sort of, I had good friends in it, and I'd be at BSB weekends a lot when I was growing up. And Ben Godfrey would always say hello, and would always have a good chat with Ben, who's unfortunately no longer with us. And another one would be Daley Matheson. It was another one who I just really got on with, and I did a day of motorcycle live with him with Spada, who again is no longer with us. And it brings things into perspective when stuff like that happens, and there's no way you can't ever prepare yourself for it, and you can't ever learn to
live with it.
And
get used to it.
There's always something that it just sort of sits in the background a little bit, and then every now and again, as much as we really wish it doesn't, it rears its ugly head a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it does. It's the nature of the sport, unfortunately, and poor Daley lost his life at the TT. Ben Godfrey on a track day of all places, when somebody pulled out a pit lane at Donington Park on one of his quicker laps, and just a freak series of events that we lost Ben to. Another great kid. That's the hardest thing, and it's usually not the crashes that's the issue. At the TT for Daley, and we lost Mark Purslow this year. We lost a few guys at the TT, and which you do every year. That's that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah,
but invariably when they crash, they're okay. It's when it involves another bike that, certainly on the short circuit stuff, you Shoya Thomas Hours, you Craig Jones at Brands Hatch. It's Marco Simoncelli, one of the most high profile ones in MotoGP at Sepang in 2011. That's when things tend to go wrong, and we want close racing, we want good, fast, close racing, and unfortunately, it brings its own dangers. But most of the time, it's pretty safe. But it's part of the sport, It's not a great part of it. It doesn't happen too often, thankfully. But when you get involved in the sport and you work in the sport at the level a lot of us do, you see these guys week in, week out, and working with Chrissy with the podcast, and guys that you maybe worked with previously in a social media role or within the team, or they're best mates with a rider that you've worked with, and you see them on a regular basis. It's difficult. You're putting yourself in an environment where there is a remote possibility that could happen, but you don't think about it week in, week out. It only comes to the fore when it happens. Nobody goes in thinking, what's going to happen this weekend. You just go in thinking we're all going to turn up on a Thursday, and we're all going to go home Sunday night, and 99% of the time that happens all right.
Yeah, and there's.
Did I waffle on that bit? Or was that all right?
No, that was good. That. But there's even though obviously when you're racing, accidents are bound to happen, and it's just something that's part of it. Me and Harry were at Cadwell Park for on the bank holiday weekend, and we saw the Dan Jones crash. Was on the spectator bank when that incident on the mountain, which looked horrific. It looked like a bomb had gone off.
I thought the worst.
It was just horrific to see. But then, when these accidents happen, luckily, because of the safety features that are in place with with terms of the equipment and everything, the medical professionals that are on hand, they were
brilliant.
The marshals.
You saw BSB at its finest.
Yeah,
because the marshals, the Orange Army, and the medics in red are they get the credit they deserve, but they should get the credit they deserve every day. And 100%. The Jonesy one is a prime example, because that could have been an awful lot worse.
Yeah.
Poor Dan had nowhere to go as the bike came back across at the top of the mountain. Whose bike was it? Was it?
It was
Leon's?
Lee Jackson's, and
It was Jacko's, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's right. It was Jacko's FS3.
I had horrible because I was on that. That's pretty much the same place I was stood was where I was stood when the Ben Gawtrey incident happened at Cadwell. You'll probably remember. Yeah. So obviously I had awful. Harry won't know what I necessarily mean by Ben Gawtrey, but
everybody loves watching at the mountain, but I don't.
Do you not?
For that reason,
For that
no,
reason.
because I know what can happen.
Right.
Yeah. If you're so used to it, well, not used to it, but if
It's an amazing spectacle.
Yeah.
But you see it on every session. Somebody will go over the mountain and they'll land slightly askew, and then it'll start doing this.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that in a race and there's 20 lads behind you,
you've not got the room to do that.
I don't want to see that.
No.
My favourite place at Cadwell is turn 1.
Yeah.
Because it's the fastest part of the circuit. The boys go back 1 or 2 gears, throw it on its left-hand side, and they're going uphill, cambered, and then crossing into Charlie's. The pace they come through there absolutely blows me away.
Yeah.
So next time you're at Cadwell, try that.
I was blown away by Cadwell. I'm just need to put that in.
Well, it was
there,
your
'cause
first time at Cadwell.
It was my
Was
first time
it?
at Cadwell, yeah, and it was amazing because I previously went to Donington before. And
Okay.
That was brilliant as well, but I was blown away by Cadwell.
Donington's mint, but you're a long way from the track in certain places. Not quite as far as way out at Silverstone. You're in a different postcode there.
Yeah.
but Cadwell Park is one where it's just an amazing place.
It's my favourite one.
It's the first track I ever went to when I was 5 years old. So I have a lot of fond memories for Cadwell Park.
Yeah.
Try Alton Park next, because that's another one that'll blow you away.
Alton Park blew my mind the first time I was there.
Did it?
First time I was at Cadwell was when I was 9. It was in 2008.
Wow.
I was 5 in 1978. I'm 50 in January, so I go back a little bit further than you.
Yeah, I'll maybe shut up then.
So it has its difficulties, but it's still the most amazing sport to be a part of. And yeah, the podcast can tell the story of people that have been involved in that. And this is why Chrissy does what he does. He does a great job with the podcast, and I just hope to God that one day he'll be able to put podcasts out again. He deserves to.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's all I've got on my questions planned, Dave. It's been amazing to have you on. I mean, I could sit here talking about things for hours on end. I mean, have you guys got anything else you want to ask while you've got the opportunity?
No, I think your knowledge, obviously, of the social media and how it's changed over the years, especially recently, is a really interesting one. But I'm quite interested to know, have you gone through the phase that we're technically going through in terms of having to get involved with TikTok at all? Because I'm going through it myself at the moment. I'm really uncomfortable with it. Because we've now got clients wanting TikTok and TikTok management, and it's great, the younger guys, but I'm so uncomfortable with it that I don't see it as a promotional platform. But obviously with what you do, it's quite a visual industry, so surely there's a market for it there.
There absolutely is. But I've been reluctant to join TikTok for as long as I can remember it being around, which I know isn't all that long, but I know my girlfriend, she was on TikTok for a bit, and it was like, look at this video, look at that video, and all of a sudden an hour and a half's gone.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about TikTok is TikTok and Reels in general are responsible for the lack of attention. And sorry to Harry and Taylor on this. Taylor?
Yeah.
Sorry guys. For Harry and Taylor on this one, and maybe to you a little bit, Zach, as well. The younger generation, their average attention span is 3 seconds.
Yeah, it is.
That's huge. And I'm pleased they've managed to sit here for an hour and 10 minutes. So that, good effort, guys.
Thank you very much. That's impressive.
But that's the issue that you have with Reels and TikToks. If you don't like it, you're just swiping past. So you have to grab somebody's attention straight away. It's something I've had to develop because it is the one where you have the direct connection with the younger generation. And you don't really know sometimes what works. It's motorcycle racing. You're either interested or you aren't. I think we've got some of excuse me while I have a look because I can't remember. I don't understand the TikTok algorithm by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know how some videos are picked up incredibly. You know, we've got 28,500 on one of them.
Yeah.
And then you'll post something that you think's great and it's got 88 and you're like, that's ages.
We deal with that every hour of the day.
I'll be honest with you.
It makes no sense.
I don't necessarily think the TikTok people at TikTok know what their algorithm is, because I mean I work with one of our clients called the Fear Coach, and for me the process I now go through is that, well, like you say, the attention span for the main demographic of the people who use TikTok and spend the most time on it, their attention span is 3 seconds. So
yeah,
the videos I now put out, within the first 3 seconds, it's got to be something that's proper in your face and will catch your attention. So whether it be something like it'll be sat in a changing room at MK Don Stadium and it'll say ego, and if that word alone catches the attention, then you've got the exact people you're aiming for. But if you don't get it within that 3 seconds,
it's not just that, is it? It's about being on trend at the time as well.
Yeah.
Now talking about Erling Haaland because he was talked about yesterday on Sky Sports.
Yeah, or the Roy
Keane at the weekend. It is an absolute minefield. I don't get it.
I don't. I mean, we had one
as well.
We had a reel in the summer. I wasn't at Knock Hill in the summer because I was fortunate enough to bring COVID back from the TT. So I didn't make it to Knock Hill, but I was still working from my settee. And Tommy sent me a video down of Brad and Kyle leaving the garage. Generic, usual weekend stuff with their, a pit lane exit. Do it every weekend, a couple of times a weekend. And no different. We put the same hashtags on that we always do. Tommy sent it to me. I posted it with the generic hashtags. I think it was Father's Day, but it wasn't even hashtagged Father's Day. We got 2.6 million plays on it.
Yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it?
And 12,000 followers from the Middle and Far East, which had Yamaha on the phone like, Dave, are you buying followers? No. It's just been picked up by Lad Bible or somebody in the Middle and Southeast Asia, and it's gone absolutely bonkers with 10,000 Southeast Asian followers. That don't. But I would rather have 15,000 followers that engage than 30,000 followers, of half of which
absolutely
don't.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm having at the minute with, like I say, with the Fear Coach thing, is that while the views might not be what they're not in the thousands by any means at the moment, but when you really look into it, like the engagement that's been with it, like the video full playthrough or like the likes or the comments on it, it seems to be like it's reaching 300, 400, 500 people, but it's having a lot of engagement with it. So I'd rather that than it be. Oh yeah, you're getting
followers is for vanity, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, I've got X amount of followers. It's just vanity. But you want the right rather than
unless they're all there for the right cause, it's I think when we gained 3,000 extra followers in the first week at the TT because it was our first visit to the TT as a team, and we picked up the core road racing fans as well, so they were genuine new followers that engage with the team. They want to see what James is doing. But these guys from the Middle and Far East has absolutely blown me away. I have absolutely no idea why we've gone as viral as we have. 2.6 million plays and 180 odd thousand likes and 120,000 saves. It just makes we've done nothing different. Just no idea how it got into that loop.
And that's what bugged me is that you post a video and you think, oh, this is just part of it's just a generic video. It's nothing that you think will do anything amazing, and then all of a sudden, like I say, it's got 2.8 million plays, and you're like, well,
How?
Didn't do anything different.
What is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know what your method there is.
We've copied the method before as well, haven't we?
Yeah, and it's
And
it's the
done
exact
completely
method.
different. So
it's annoying.
who knows? I think we're all every day there's something new. There's a new technique we try. You get on board with the challenges, and it's just about keeping up. So it's
You know
always
what my secret is?
Go on.
Just keep doing what I do.
Keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it my way, and if you keep trying to follow the trends, and you'll always be one step behind. So if I know what works for the team, I know what works for our socials. You know, you post once in the morning, once in a late afternoon, Instagram and Facebook. Throw a reel out there, maybe midday. Twitter, you can do what you like on. There's no algorithm really that covers that.
Yeah.
But for Facebook and Instagram, just do it your way, and the engagement will come organically. But if you try and chase it and try and work it, I think they know. I think they're watching, and they're like, he knows what he's doing. Let's change it.
Yeah. They know how hard you're working on these certain things. They're like, no.
Yeah, it's all
here.
those extra Middle Eastern followers you got.
It is. That's exactly what it is. They look at those and go, "Oh, we've got a market there." There's no market for them in our team. They can't even watch it. So I don't understand what the attraction is. But yeah, the worst thing is when you work hard on a reel and you cut it nicely and you put it to some great music
And it flops.
and you think this is going to fly, and you're still looking at it going,
we get that too often, don't we?
What was the
99%.
It's demoralising.
Yeah, what was the TikTok challenge we did, and we thought we've got that. This is it.
Well,
This
it was
is-
all of them. It was getting the ping pong ball in a cup.
Yeah.
The one that got furthest was him being offered a job.
Yeah.
He was chucking some bits of ripped up paper on a board.
Yeah.
It's so annoying, but it's great.
usually when I get round to it, it's disappeared anyway. I'm like 2 days too late.
Oh
Catching
yeah,
up on
we're
it.
always a month behind on challenges. We did the cinnamon challenge yesterday for
Oh, yeah.
just to fill some bloody content.
That's 6 years behind.
But it's
That
at least
looks
6-7 years. Yeah.
You'll be doing the ice bucket challenge soon.
I
Where's the idea?
nominate.
Off we go.
I tell you what,
Welcome to 2013.
You're doing that challenge. Me and Harry did this.
Your nose won't fit in a bucket.
Oh,
You just said I've got a massive head.
he's bringing out the nose jokes.
Well, no, if you have one of those, the buckets that like a plasterer uses, you know, those squashy buckets that are about like 10 gallons,
Mold
that
to the
kind of
shape
thing.
of your head.
Oh
Yeah, that's the one.
Huge one.
Oh, thanks for that.
10-gallon head.
Thanks. Is that another nickname I've now got?
Yeah, it is now.
Along with Concord.
Yeah, yeah. Builder's elbow.
Me and Zach stood back to back. We'd look like a pickaxe.
We make that photo happen.
Anytime.
I'll come to
Anytime.
I'll come to a BSB round and we'll make it happen.
Thanks for the warning.
Amazing. Do you guys have any more? Have any questions at all, or anything that you want to know?
I was interested about your kind of thoughts on TikTok, and I think that's kind of been covered
covered it.
quite well. Yeah,
Yeah.
You've got a better insight. as to what
Everybody's.
other
It's just interesting to
people
hear
use.
from other people in sort of in the industry who have experienced the same sort of thing that we have. So it's just touching on that has been interesting for me.
We got a directive at the start of the season that that the series wanted us to engage more on TikTok because they threw out an infographic of the engagement that F1 got through TikTok.
Yeah,
and it's incredible. It really is. The engagement that F1 gets, but that's F1, not BSB or MotoGP for that matter. That's completely different level of social media play. But to try and engage with a younger audience, because for all kudos to the series, you know, they're quite progressive. They know that the average age of the British Superbike fan it probably starts with a 3 and if not nearly a 4. They've got to engage that younger generation because, you know, we ain't going to be around forever. They've got to bring the next the next wave of fans through, and you do see a lot of young fans coming through, but you've got to keep hold of them somehow, and they've got to be able to come along on their own at 20 and 21 and 22 like I did, and enjoy the racing and want to be there, not because they're there with their folks, you know, want to go off and watch football or do whatever they do, hang about at McDonald's with a curly haircut, that sort of thing.
I don't have McDonald's all the time.
So yeah, we need to keep hold of the younger audience, but I would, for me, I think there's room in our sport for a younger generation to talk to the younger generation. I can't engage with them because I'm double where we're aiming at.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
while I
TikTok's
can
that
do
way.
most of the stuff, I think TikTok is very generational. They said generic. It's very generational.
Yeah.
It's kind of not aimed at me. But if I look on TikTok, I'm looking at adverts from the 1980s and Noel's House Party and stuff like that. You know, I'm not looking at anything that's modern because I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to then transfer that to my job because I can't relate. There's no direct connection. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, piece of cake, not a problem.
Yeah.
But the TikTok thing is very generationally specific, I feel.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, to be honest, I noticed the thing that BSB were doing in terms of obviously getting on TikTok, because just before the season started, I was obviously still at Gridline, which obviously you'll have known that, you know, Dave came in quite a reasonable amount while I was there at Gridline. And obviously we had the BSB day, which you'll have seen, with the BSB riders and loads of Bennett's customers. And there was, it's Laura, isn't it, at BSB, who does the...
Laura Stevens, yeah.
Yeah, and she was there with, you know, filming things for TikTok on the BSB channel. And you know, it was then I really noticed that BSB were getting on TikTok and really starting to optimize it and use it to its full, or trying to use it to its full capacity. So I think... I completely agree that to get that younger audience, I think that will be the way that they'll go through it and trying to use that as their tool to do that.
I think they have to, because it is that nobody under 30 uses Twitter anymore. Instagram, they tend to just go through stories and not through your posts. And Facebook, I don't think most of the younger generation use anyway now. I mean, my daughter's 20 and she'll go through, she'll like a few posts, but she never posts on it. She's not interested. She's more into Snapchat and TikTok.
Yeah.
And that's the engagement for that sort of 18 to 30 generation.
Yeah.
And I think you need someone of that age specifically for that. I know Laura and the team at BSB have done a fantastic job of bringing BSB to TikTok and getting word out there. But if you imagine our fan base is, say, 500,000, you're looking at 100,000. That's your target audience.
Yeah.
You're not going to bring it to people who aren't interested in motorcycle racing. That's what they're trying to do. And they're working really hard at it with the on-track shots that Motion Sport Media and Roji and the guys are doing trackside to try and do the nice fancy cuts and the close-up slow motions, things like that. It looks amazing, especially to us who work in the sport. It's like, yeah, this is taking it to the next level. We really like this. It's really hitting well. But the people have to be interested first.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult sport to have somebody come in from a standing start.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge base amongst the fans is incredible.
Yeah.
As I said about the podcast, you know, you've got to know your audience. You've got to know that they know as much and not, if not sometimes more than you. And you've got to be fully aware. I don't for 1 minute think I know everything. Far from it. I'm well versed and reasonably well experienced, which stands me in good stead.
Yeah.
But there are an awful lot of people out there that know more about specific subjects than I do. And that's the sort of the doff to the cap in their general direction. I can cover most subjects adequately, but I can't cover some subjects deeply.
Yeah.
How does that? And that's the thing. And the kids don't have that these days. Apologies for calling them kids. You know, they're young adults.
Youth.
The young adults are the youth of today. Never had it so good. I don't think they've had it good at all. It's not in the slightest the way the world is at the minute. But that's another podcast.
Yeah.
But if their target audience is there, but it depends on the interest of the target audience, and the same for you guys, for F1, whatever. It's gaining that interest and holding them in. They might see it and go, "Oh, it's a motorbike going around track, brilliant." Next,
Yeah,
I don't think, oh, I want to go and watch that. Where's my nearest round?
Yeah.
And that's the battle that BSB and the race teams are up against at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Keep plugging away at Lapham, won't it?
Yeah.
TikTok's
takes
going to get in
work.
front of a lot more people. Put it that way.
Consistency is key.
Absolutely is. Couldn't agree more. Just
Yeah.
keep doing what we do, and the rest will take care of itself.
I think that's what we learned from when we had a TikToker on. It was our first guest we had on the podcast, actually, called Craig, not Craig, and he said that basically that consistency was
Perseverance,
key.
consistency,
Perseverance, yeah.
and that was it. Yeah. So yeah,
Keep on grinding.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dave, for coming on.
Absolutely, my
Won't take
pleasure.
up any
Thank
more
you.
of your afternoon, but thank you. Apologies, it was a shambles.
It wasn't. It was
we,
great.
We pride ourselves on it being a shambles, don't
Oh,
we?
of course we do.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully I didn't waffle on too long. And if it's educated a couple of people, and
Absolutely.
and it's the perseverance is the same thing for becoming a press officer in British Superbikes. You know, meet the right teams, start off in the junior paddock. There are a lot of people that will do things for tickets. We've all been there. There's an argument that it devalues what we do, but without that, we wouldn't have the younger press officers and social media operators and
True, yeah.
mechanics and things coming through. So just perseverance. It took me 9 years to get where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So perseverance is absolutely key, and it'd be
that's the
nice
title
to
of this episode.
be nice.
There
we go.
And another, be nice to everybody, because you never know when you're going to meet them on the way back down.
Absolutely. Even the
100%.
postman.
That's right.
There's another one.
Oh,
No, we're not
We're
going to
not
go
ending
there.
on
No, we're
that.
not going to go there. So, thank you, Dave. We'll wrap it up, shall we?
Yeah, before
Today,
you get
yeah.
in trouble.
Before
Yeah.
I get in trouble. That's it. What episode? 22?
22.
The Tweakers.
22.
See you next
Jason
time.
O'Halloran,
Thank you very
number
much,
22.
everybody.
See you later.
See you later.
Thanks, fellas. Cheers. All the best.
Cheers,
See
Dave.
ya.
See ya.